Hi, welcome to Teach with me. I'm Miss Jen. Today we are going to be talking about the 3 best books and activities I use to introduce colors to my classroom. These books some of them are not in print anymore, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show them to you and then show you the activity that goes along with them. And let's begin. The first book is Little Blue and Little Yellow, and by Leo Lionni. And I'm not going to read the whole book to you, for copyright reasons, but the premise of the book is very cool. The premise is that Little Blue and Little Yellow are best friends, and they go out to play one day, and when they're done playing, they end up hugging each other. And when Blue and Yellow hug, they make a new color. They make the color green. And there it is. So they started to make the color green. So when they were done playing, they went to their respective homes. And Little Blue's family did not recognize him. They said, "You're not our Little Blue, you're green." And Little Yellow's family said the same thing. So they get really sad and they begin to cry. And then Blue and Yellow come out and they begin to reform into themselves and they run home. Well, this is a fun little book about color mixing. And so then what I do with this, I do a couple of things. The first thing I do is I give every student a little bit. I'd give them a little less than this, but I give them a little bit of blue and a little bit of yellow Play-Doh. And I tell them to mix the Play-Doh until it changes into green. And then they can physically see that blue and green, when you mix it together, turns into green. Now I think I added probably a little bit more blue here than I should have, but you can see the green beginning to come up. And I'll just have them keep mixing until it looks green. And you can see that there is starting to be some green here. All right, I'm gonna let you see that it is beginning to mix together, and I'm gonna put this aside and show you the next thing that I do with this. That one you need a little bit more yellow than blue, and I think I had a little bit too much blue. But anyway, they're going to take their journals. Now, if you recall, I mentioned before that I think journals are really important, and for kindergarten especially, the ones that have the space up at the top for them to draw is really important too. I don't have that yet. I have ordered it, but it has not come in yet, but I just made one. So basically what I do is I have them then take their yellow and their blue crayon, and they're going to first, up here in the box, they're going to draw what they just did. And they just took blue, and they took yellow, and then they mixed them together, and they made green. And that's what they're going to model. And then at the bottom, you can do this a couple of different ways. It really depends on your students. You can have a sentence already on the board that says blue and yellow make green, and then have the students copy that sentence, or if they're past that already, you can leave make a frame for them and have them just copy the color words. Blue and yellow make green. So that's what I do with this. And if they're a little bit more advanced than that, you can also have them think of something that is one of these colors. This grass is green, the sky is blue, etc. All right, the next book that I love for introducing colors in primary is this one. And I know you've all seen this one before, Harold and the Purple Crayon. Basically, a little boy gets a purple crayon, and whatever he draws becomes reality. This is a fabulous book. If you have first grade, you can do this with first grade, and they can begin to create an entire story using their purple crayon. I see a boat. I climbed in my boat. I went fishing, right? They can begin to make their own stories. For kindergarten, what I did, I pre-made a sample here, is I drew a picture, and I would have the kids in their journals draw a picture of whatever they wanted to draw. And you can, again, do the same thing. Include a purple, include a frame that includes the word purple. I made a purple whatever. I see a purple, right? But in this case, I would have them choose something that they drew, and they have to try to sound it out themselves. This is the beginning of their practice with phonics. And again, of course, it depends what time of year you're doing this. You may need to give them more help. You may not. They may be able to do this without the frame. I see a purple house, so I'm going to do this how a kindergartner might do it. House. So beginning kindergartner, that's what they may write, HS. And that is something you celebrate. You say, yay! And you move on. If they're a little older, they may actually go HAWS. And then you, again, yay, good job sounding it out. And my third book that I really love for teaching colors is this one. It's called The Great Blueness by Arnold Lobel. I don't actually know if it's still in print anymore. This was initially written in 1968. And it's about the world at the beginning in this story is all in grays. And then one day this wizard makes a pot, and he makes something with color in it, and he calls it blue. Well, he loves it so much that he colors the entire town in blue. Everyone wants some, but eventually it makes people sad and depressed, and so he goes back to his little cellar, and he makes something else, and he calls it yellow, and everyone loves it, and they paint their whole town yellow. And then everyone begins to have headaches because it's such a bright color. Well, then he goes back and he creates another thing, and he calls it red. And everyone loves it, and they paint the whole town red, but then pretty soon everyone begins to fight. And so he goes back to his cellar, and he tries to make more colors, but he cannot. And pretty soon he has so many that they begin to overflow and make all these other colors. And then he begins to mix them and make different colors. And so pretty soon there's enough colors to color everything different colors and not all the same. And that's what this book is about. It's one of my favorites. And what I do with that afterwards is I then have some frames after we've talked more about primary colors. And I have the kids, again, depends on what time of year it is. If it's at the beginning of the year, they're going to copy the frames. And I try to tie writing into literally everything I do. The more the kids write, the better their penmanship, the more they remember sight words. It's just helps them with everything. So red and blue make, and then they have to remember what color it makes and write it. And I have the color words. They'll have them on a name tag on their desk, and they also have them on the calendar wall. So there are places in the room they can find these words. Red and yellow make, and then yellow and blue make, and they have to finish these frames. And depending on how advanced they are, I might have them do all of them, might have them do one of them. I might have them try to do a sentence without looking. It again depends on the child, depends on the time of year, but usually I'm going to start off with a frame. And that is it. Those are my 3 books. We have to review The Great Blueness. We had Harold and the Purple Crayon, and we had Little Blue and Little Yellow. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much.